I stood there watching my fiance hug another woman. The caterer, his ex. He pecked her forehead like I wasn't standing right there in my own wedding rehearsal. Everyone in his family adored her. They called her my daughter and called me by my name. That was when I knew I was about to marry into a family that had already chosen their bride. And it wasn't me. Hi, I'm Winifred. I'm 32, and I'm an interior designer. This is the story of how I almost married the wrong man, and how walking away from that wedding saved my life. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The sound of wedding bells was supposed to make me smile. Instead, it made my stomach twist. My wedding is on Saturday. Yes, this Saturday, and yet here I am, sitting on my kitchen floor at 2 a.m., staring at my engagement ring like it's mocking me. Everyone around me thinks I should be glowing. Excited, counting down the hours. But I can't even sleep. I keep thinking about her. Anna Rose. She's the caterer for my wedding. And she also happens to be my fiance's ex-fiance. Crazy, right? This story might sound like a movie, but it's my life. When I met Michael 2 years ago, he was everything I thought I wanted. Calm, charming, stable. The kind of man who opens doors and remembers how you take your coffee. He told me about Anna Rose early in our relationship, said they broke up because of genotype incompatibility. We're both AS, he explained. I couldn't risk it. It sounded logical, responsible even. What he didn't tell me was that she was still in the picture. At first, I thought I was being paranoid. Anna Rose was polite, overly polite. She called me sweetheart and smiled every time she saw me. But something about her eyes felt heavy, like she was silently saying, "You're sitting where I used to sit." Then the comments started. "She's family," Michael's mom would say. "Anna Rose practically grew up with us. She's like a daughter." And yet that daughter was calling my fiancé darling, dear, and humbug in front of me. They hugged shamelessly, laughed about old times, and once I caught Michael kissing her on the forehead. On the forehead. I wanted to scream, but everyone acted like it was normal. His mom even laughed and said, "Aw, these two, they've always been like that." Meanwhile, I stood there, invisible, the soon-to-be bride who didn't belong in her own love story. When I told Michael how uncomfortable I felt, he sighed like I was overreacting. "Babe, come on. Anna Rose's family. She's harmless." But she wasn't harmless. She was strategic. She catered every family event. Birthdays, anniversaries, baby showers. Her name was always on the lips of someone in that family. Anna Rose's food is the best. Nobody cooks like Anna Rose. And now, she was catering my wedding to her ex. How poetic. 2 weeks ago, we had a wedding tasting session at the venue. Anna Rose came in her white chef coat, hair in a bun, radiating confidence. "Hey, Mikey," she said, giving him a long hug while I stood by the table with fake smiles. Then she turned to me. "You must be so excited. Michael's always had great taste." I swear I felt my heart skip, not from flattery, but from fury. Michael just chuckled. "You know me too well, Em." That night, I cried in the shower, not because of what she said, but because of how comfortable they were. She wasn't trying to win him back. She already believed she hadn't lost him. His mom didn't make things easier. Every time I visited, she compared me to Anna Rose. Anna Rose used to make Michael's favorite lasagna every Friday. Anna Rose always helped me decorate the house for Thanksgiving. Anna Rose knows exactly how Michael likes his tea. One day, I was so frustrated I snapped. Then maybe Anna Rose should be the one marrying him. His mom just smiled, like she agreed. I kept trying to talk myself into calm. "You're being silly, Winifred. They're just old friends." But deep down, I knew I was lying to myself. Michael wasn't setting boundaries. He wasn't protecting me. And love, without protection, feels like standing in the rain without an umbrella. Last weekend, it got worse. Anna Rose was over for a final tasting. again. I made pancakes for breakfast, trying to lighten the mood. Michael ate quietly, said, "It's nice," and went back to texting. I leaned a little to peek. It was Anna Rose. Later that day, as they discussed logistics, Anna Rose laughed and said, "Oh, Mikey, you know you're still my favorite client." He smiled and replied, "You'll always be my favorite chef." I wanted to leave the room. No, I wanted to leave the wedding. That night, as I lay in bed next to him, I realized something that made my chest ache. I was already married to a man who hadn't let go of another woman. And here's the part that broke me. He didn't even notice I was crying beside him. 3 days ago, his mom called to discuss the menu. "Anna Rose said you wanted salmon instead of chicken. Are you sure, dear?" "I didn't say that," I replied, confused. "Oh, maybe Michael told her. She knows his taste better anyway." That was it. The line that pushed me over the edge. I hung up, walked to the mirror, and looked at myself. My perfectly manicured nails, my soft curls, the woman who spent months planning a wedding she was no longer sure about. I whispered, "What am I even doing?" I used to think wedding jitters were normal. Everyone gets nervous, right? But this wasn't nerves. It was dread. Every morning that week, I woke up with a pit in my stomach. Michael was the man I'd prayed for. Loyal, kind, God-fearing. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. But lately, it felt like I was convincing everyone, especially me, that everything was fine. Then, on Tuesday, I walked into his place unannounced. He'd been busy with Anna Rose, finalizing the catering order. My gut told me to show up, though I hated the idea of being that fiancé. When I stepped inside, laughter floated from the kitchen. Michael's laugh, Anna Rose's laugh. And then I saw them, standing close, almost touching. She was holding a spoon to his lips. "Taste this," she said, smiling. "It's your favorite." He tasted it. He smiled. "Still perfect." They didn't notice me at first, and for a few seconds, I just stood there, watching a moment that looked like it belonged to someone else's love story. Then Anna Rose turned and gasped, "Oh, Winifred, hi!" She wiped her hands on her apron, pretending like nothing was off. Michael's face changed. He looked guilty, not like a man cheating, but like one who got caught being too comfortable. "Babe," he said quickly. "We were just testing the new sauce." "I can see that," I cut in. My voice was calm, but my hands trembled. Be silent and pausing when you felt that way. Anna Rose's smile didn't fade. "Oh, come on, don't be jealous. You know how close we all are. Michael's practically my family." That word, family, again. My blood boiled. "You're his ex-fiancée, Anna Rose. There's supposed to be a line." The room went silent. Michael rubbed the back of his neck. "Winifred, please, don't make this a thing. Anna Rose and I go way back. You're blowing it out of proportion." I felt my heart sink. He wasn't defending me. He was defending her. I left before I said something I'd regret. Drove to my apartment, parked outside, and just sat in the car for almost an hour, staring at nothing. My hands were shaking, my chest heavy. That night, I didn't cry. I just went numb. The next day, Anna Rose posted something on her catering page. A picture of Michael holding a tray of food, grinning. The caption read, 10 years of friendship, and he still loves my kitchen magic. 10 years of friendship, and he still loves my kitchen magic. 10 years of friendship, and he still loves my kitchen magic. My phone nearly slipped from my hand. The comments were full of people saying things like, "You two should have ended up together," and "perfect match." Michael liked the post. He liked the post. I called him immediately. "Why would you let her post that? People think you're still together." He sighed. "Winifred, stop being dramatic. It's just a picture." Then unlike it. "I'm not playing those social media games," he snapped. That was the first time his voice went cold with me. For days, I replayed that moment. I'd never seen him defend someone so hard, and it wasn't me. But every time I thought about ending things, I heard my mother's voice in my head. "Winifred, you're almost 30. Good men don't come around every day. So I stayed. Stayed even when Anna Rose accidentally called him at midnight about venue details. Stayed even when his mother said, Anna Rose's food makes Michael feel at home. Stayed even when Michael forgot to tell me Anna Rose was coming to the final fitting, and she showed up with pastries for everyone. She smiled at me sweetly. You're glowing, Winifred. Michael always said you'd make a beautiful bride. I wanted to scream, but I smiled instead, because apparently I was marrying into a family that didn't believe in boundaries or respect. At night, as I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, I realized something painful. It wasn't Anna Rose who was the problem. It was Michael's silence. Love isn't just about saying I do. It's about saying that's enough when someone disrespects your partner. And he never said it. Not once. 2 days before the wedding, we had the rehearsal dinner. Everything looked picture perfect. White flowers, twinkling lights, soft jazz. But all I could feel was tension crawling under my skin. Anna Rose was there, of course, dressed like she belonged on the guest list, not behind the scenes. She floated around, charming everyone, laughing with Michael's dad, chatting with his uncles. Even my bridesmaids whispered about her. At one point, I caught her touching Michael's arm lightly as they talked. It wasn't overt, just enough to make my chest tighten. Then she looked over at me and smiled, almost mockingly, before turning back to him. I excused myself, walked into the restroom, and locked the door. My reflection looked foreign, pale, exhausted, hollow. This isn't love, I whispered to myself. This is humiliation in a white dress. When I stepped back out, I caught a glimpse of Michael's mother hugging Anna Rose. My daughter, she said, loud enough for me to hear. Then, with a quick glance at me, she added, some bonds can't be replaced. That night, when I got home, I sat in the dark for a long time. The wedding dress hung on my closet door, beautiful, shimmering, mocking me. Everything was paid for, everything was planned. But the one thing that mattered, respect, was missing. The red flags weren't subtle anymore. They were flashing neon signs, and I kept walking toward them anyway. The morning of my wedding felt like standing in someone else's life. The sky was bright, the flowers perfect, the music soft, everything exactly how I'd planned it. And yet, all I wanted to do was run. Everyone kept telling me, you look stunning, Winifred. But every compliment felt hollow. I was dressed like a bride, but I didn't feel like one. I looked in the mirror one last time before leaving the bridal suite. The white satin gown hugged my body perfectly. My curls were pinned with crystals. My veil shimmered under the light. But behind all that beauty, my eyes looked lost. You've got this, I whispered to myself, though even my voice didn't sound convinced. When I arrived at the venue, I noticed Anna Rose's catering van parked outside. She was already inside, giving instructions, her staff moving like clockwork. I tried not to think about it. Not today, I told myself. Just make it through the day. But life has a way of tearing down walls you build to protect your peace. About an hour before the ceremony, I was in the prep room fixing my makeup when I overheard two waitresses whispering. Did you see how he hugged her? Yeah, and she was crying. I thought that was the ex? It is. They're like best friends, apparently. My hand froze. I stepped out quietly, my heart pounding, and peered down the hallway. There they were, Michael and Anna Rose. She was still in her catering uniform, hair covered, apron spotless. But he was holding her, arms wrapped tight around her as she wiped her eyes. And then, before my mind could process it, he kissed her forehead. Again. Just like always. I felt my throat close up. The whole world blurred, like someone dimmed the lights around me. I wanted to walk away, but my feet refused to move. When he finally noticed me standing there, his face went pale. Winifred, Save it, I said, my voice trembling. Don't. Just don't. Anna Rose tried to step forward. Winifred, it's not what it looks like. I laughed bitterly. Oh, please, Anna Rose. It's always not what it looks like, right? 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is, you've had him long enough. What more do you want? The hallway fell silent. One of the catering staff awkwardly looked away. Michael reached for my hand, but I stepped back. I can't believe you'd do this to me. On today of all days. Winifred, he said softly. She was just emotional. She's been part of the family for years. Yeah, I cut in sharply. And you made sure she stayed that way. Maybe she's your family, Michael, but I'm supposed to be your wife. He went quiet. That silence told me everything I needed to know. I turned around and walked back into the prep room. My makeup artist looked alarmed when she saw my face. I'm fine, I lied. I just need a minute. I locked the door and sat on the floor, hands shaking. The white dress suddenly felt heavy, suffocating. I looked down at the engagement ring, sparkling, perfect. And for the first time, I realized it meant nothing. I pulled out my phone. My best friend, Claire, had been texting non-stop. Are you ready, bride-to-be? I typed back, I don't think I can do this. Within minutes, she was outside the door, knocking softly. When I opened it, she took one look at me and whispered, "Oh my God, what happened?" I told her everything. The hug, the forehead kiss, the months of disrespect. Her expression shifted from concern to anger. Winifred, you can't marry him. You know that, right? I nodded, tears finally spilling down my cheeks. I know. I just don't know how to stop it now. Everything's paid for. Everyone's here. She crouched down, grabbed my hands. Forget everyone. You either walk down that aisle broken or walk away whole. Those words pierced me. For a moment, I imagined the ceremony, the music, the guests smiling, Michael waiting at the altar, pretending everything was fine. And I imagined myself walking toward him, smiling for photos while dying inside. No, I couldn't do it. I stood up, took a deep breath, and said quietly, I'm not marrying him. Claire smiled through teary eyes. Good. Then let's get you out of here. She helped me out of the gown, stuffed it into the garment bag, and handed me a simple white dress she had brought for the reception after party. Wear this instead. You're still leaving like a bride, just not his. Minutes later, I walked past the venue staff, the decorators, the guests who had started to arrive. Some called out, "You look beautiful," and I smiled faintly, not stopping. When I got to the entrance, I saw Michael standing by the arch, looking confused, as someone whispered something in his ear. He turned toward me. Winifred? I met his eyes one last time and said, You don't get to keep me halfway while holding on to her. You wanted family? Go marry your family. And with that, I walked out. The guests gasped. Someone tried to follow, but Claire blocked the door. As I stepped into the sunlight, the breeze hit my face. Cold, refreshing, like freedom. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, texts, missed messages. I didn't answer a single one. By the time I reached my apartment, I kicked off my heels and collapsed onto the couch. The silence was deafening, but for the first time in months, it wasn't painful. It was peace. The morning after the wedding that never happened, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Friends, family, even Michael's mother. The messages came in waves. Shock, anger, gossip. How could you embarrass Michael like that? You'll regret this, Winifred. I always knew you were too sensitive. But the one message that hurt the most came from Michael himself. You ruined everything over nothing. Over nothing. That word replayed in my mind like a bad song. I stared at my reflection. No makeup, messy hair, puffy eyes, and whispered, You didn't ruin anything. You saved yourself. For weeks, I stayed low. I didn't answer calls, didn't go to work. I needed to feel empty for a while. Like I had to rinse my heart clean of every trace of him. The truth is, Walking away felt good, but staying away? That was the hard part. There were nights when I'd wake up thinking maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe I should have just gone through with it. But then I'd remember the forehead kiss, the silence, the way his mother looked at me like I was a replacement, not a choice. And I'd breathe again, knowing I made the right decision. Healing wasn't glamorous. It was crying in the shower, deleting wedding photos, and learning to sleep alone again. But little by little, I started to feel like myself. I went back to work. Interior design, my safe space. I poured my pain into colors and textures. Every room I designed felt like therapy. Soft tones, open windows, light that didn't hide. And slowly, I started smiling again. 3 months after the canceled wedding, I got a new client. A tech company wanted a modern office redesign. Straightforward job, or so I thought. When I arrived for the first meeting, the CEO introduced himself with a warm smile. "Hi, I'm Micah Cole." He was tall, effortlessly confident, with kind eyes that didn't dart around the room like he was searching for something better. When he shook my hand, it was firm but gentle. "Pleasure to meet you, Winifred. I've heard great things about your work." For the first time in a while, I didn't feel the need to hide behind small talk. We got to work immediately. He listened, really listened to my ideas. No interruptions, no dismissive nods. When I suggested redesigning their break area with more natural light, he said, "I trust your judgment. You see things differently. That's what makes you good." That line stayed with me. No one had ever said that before. Over the next few weeks, I noticed something about Micah. He didn't just appreciate my work. He respected my boundaries. If I said I'd call him later, he waited. If I said I needed more time, he gave it. There was no guilt tripping, no manipulation, just understanding. One afternoon, after a site inspection, he offered to grab coffee. I hesitated, but he smiled. No pressure, just caffeine and conversation. At the cafe, our talk drifted from work to life. He asked, "So, what's your story?" I laughed softly. "It's long, complicated, and includes a canceled wedding." He didn't flinch, just nodded. "Then it sounds like a story of strength." That word, strength, hit me hard. For months, people had called me dramatic, impulsive, cold, but he called me strong. We talked for hours that day about travel, work, life, and that strange moment when you realize pain can actually make you better. When we left, he walked me to my car. "I hope this doesn't sound forward," he said, "but I'm really glad I met you." I smiled. Me too. That night, I got home, poured myself a glass of wine, and sat by the window. The city lights flickered below, soft and distant. For the first time in months, my heart felt light. Days turned into weeks. Our work continued. But our connection deepened. Micah was never pushy, never possessive. He was patient, almost careful, as if he knew what it felt like to be broken before. One evening, after finalizing the office layout, he asked, "How are you really doing? Not work-wise, you." I hesitated. "Better. I used to think walking away made me weak. Now I see it made room for peace." He nodded slowly. "Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is leave what's familiar." His words lingered long after he drove away. Weeks later, he surprised me with a bouquet of white tulips, my favorite. I never told him that. The note read, "To new beginnings." I smiled so hard it hurt. Our friendship turned into something more, naturally. No drama, no confusion, just laughter, shared goals, and mutual respect. But what struck me most was this. Micah never made me choose between love and dignity. He gave me both. One night, as we sat on his balcony watching the city lights, he turned to me and said softly, "I don't know who broke your heart, Winifred, but whoever let you go, they lost something rare." My throat tightened. For a moment, I thought of Michael, of Anna Rose, of everything I endured to get here. And then I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. It's been a year since the wedding that never was. A year since I stood in that room full of whispers and chose myself. Life moved on, quietly, beautifully. Micah and I grew closer, both careful and grateful. He didn't rush me. He let love unfold at its own pace. And in that calm, I healed. I even stopped checking Michael's social media until one evening, curiosity got the best of me. He was still with Anna Rose. At least, that's what the pictures said. Smiling at family events, cooking together, hugging at parties. The comments were full of heart emojis and God's plan always wins. I smiled, not out of bitterness, but because I finally understood something. Sometimes, God's plan is separation. Still, there was a quiet ache. I couldn't lie. I had loved that man once, deeply, foolishly. But love without respect is a slow poison, and I'd already detoxed. Then, out of nowhere, I saw a headline on a mutual friend's Instagram story. Michael and Anna Rose's engagement called off. At first, I scrolled past. But later, my phone buzzed with a message from Tessa, an old friend who had attended that chaotic almost wedding. Tessa, girl, you won't believe what happened. Me, try me. Tessa. Anna Rose dumped Michael. She's engaged to some doctor now. AA type. His name is Dr. Kelvin. Me. You're joking. Tessa. Nope. The same story Michael told you about genotype, she used it too. Said she wanted to avoid AS complications. She even told people Michael's genotype didn't match hers. Me. Wow. Tessa. Karma babe served on ice. I didn't reply immediately. I just sat there, stunned, then smiling. Anna Rose. The woman who once called me insecure. The woman who stood beside my ex-fiancé while he humiliated me. She had done to him exactly what he did to me. But I didn't feel revenge. I felt peace. Weeks later, news spread that Michael was spiraling. He'd stopped going to work, lost a contract, started drinking more than usual. People said he looked empty, the same emptiness I once carried after him. The same loneliness I cried through while he laughed with Anna Rose. But what really broke him wasn't losing Anna Rose. It was realizing she had never truly loved him. Apparently, she met Dr. Kelvin, tall, charming, successful, while catering an event for a hospital's end-of-year party. They hit it off instantly. He was everything Michael wasn't, stable, emotionally mature, and of course AA. At first she hid it, but then she started showing signs, ignoring Michael's calls, skipping their outings, lying about late-night orders. And the final blow came when Michael showed up unannounced at her apartment and found her there, laughing, barefoot in the kitchen, wearing another man's shirt. He didn't rage, he just froze. People said he left quietly, like someone whose soul had left before his body caught up. That was the day I stopped pitying him. Meanwhile, my life had become a contrast to his, simple, warm, whole. Micah and I had built something strong. It wasn't fireworks and chaos like before. It was slow warmth, the kind that stays. He met my parents. They loved him instantly. My mother said, "This one looks at you like you're home." And she was right. He did. One evening, we were driving home after dinner when we stopped at a red light. That's when I saw him. Michael. He was standing outside a restaurant, alone, looking lost. His shirt was half tucked, his eyes hollow. He didn't see me at first, but when he did, his expression froze. For a second, our eyes met, and in that silence, 1,000 unspoken words passed between us. Regret, realization, respect. The light turned green, and Micah's hand brushed mine. "You okay?" he asked softly. I smiled. More than okay. As we drove off, I looked out the window and whispered, "You finally understand." A few weeks later, I got an unexpected message. "Michael, Winifred, I don't expect a reply. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what I did to you. I thought I was choosing peace, but I ended up losing everything that mattered." I stared at the message for a long time. Once upon a time, those words would have healed me. Now, they just confirmed what I already knew, that God has a way of balancing the scales. I typed back, "I wish you healing, Michael." We both deserve peace. Then I muted the chat. Not blocked, not deleted, just silenced. Some doors deserve to stay closed, but gently. Months passed. Anna Rose's engagement didn't last long either. Rumor had it that Dr. Kelvin found out she'd lied about something, that she'd said she was single when she was still with Michael. He ended it quietly, moved abroad, and never looked back. Anna Rose went back to catering full-time, but the glow she used to have, the bold laughter, the arrogance, was gone. People said she looked tired. One day, while shopping for a client's housewarming event, I ran into her at a supermarket. She froze when she saw me. I could tell she wanted to walk away, but I smiled first. "Hi, Anna Rose." She blinked. "Winifred. Wow, it's been a year," I finished for her. "How are you?" Her lips trembled before she managed, "I've been better." There was no pride left in her voice, only honesty, and for the first time, I saw not the woman who tried to take my place, but another woman who had paid the price of playing cruel games. I nodded softly. "We all learn somehow." She swallowed hard and whispered, "You were right to leave him." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The silence said enough. When I walked away, I felt lighter. Not because she suffered, but because I had finally let go of every residue of pain. That night, Micah and I sat on the balcony watching the city lights again, the same spot where he once told me that whoever let me go lost something rare. He reached for my hand. "You've been quiet," he said gently. "I ran into Anna Rose today." He looked at me, and I realized I don't hate her. I just don't need her story to affect mine anymore. He smiled, that soft, knowing smile I loved. That's growth. I leaned on his shoulder. "It's peace." He kissed my forehead, the same spot Michael once reserved for someone else. But this time, it didn't sting. It felt safe. 2 months later, Micah proposed. It wasn't dramatic or loud, just the two of us, a quiet dinner and a simple gold ring. "Winifred," he said, holding my hands, "you don't owe anyone a version of love that hurts. You've earned one that feels like home. Let me be that home." Tears filled my eyes. I said yes. Not because I needed to prove anything, but because I was finally ready to receive the kind of love I once begged for. A year after that, we got married, small, elegant, surrounded by genuine joy. No drama, no ghosts from the past. After the ceremony, while we danced under the string lights, I noticed someone standing at the back, Michael. He didn't approach, just watched. Our eyes met briefly. This time he smiled, small, sad, but peaceful. He mouthed, "I'm happy for you." And for the first time, I believed him. Because sometimes, closure doesn't come from apologies or explanations. It comes from seeing how far you've come without the people who broke you. A week later, I got a small envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a short note. "You once said I'd never understand what I made you feel. Now I do. You deserved better. Michael." I folded the paper, smiled softly, and placed it in my drawer. Not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of healing. Because in the end, I didn't need revenge. Life had already served it. I just needed peace, and I found it. 2 years later, Micah and I opened our own design studio, Haven Spaces. It's funny because for me, design isn't just about colors or furniture anymore. It's about creating peace. For others, and for myself. Sometimes, clients ask how I got started. And I just smile and say, let's just say I almost married the wrong man so I could find the right one. Do I ever think about Michael? Yes, but not in the way I used to. Now it's only in my prayers, the kind that say thank you. Because I finally understand, healing isn't about revenge or proving a point. It's about gratitude. Gratitude that the door I once begged God to keep open was the same one he closed to save me. Click on the next story waiting for you on screen, because trust me, the betrayals only get darker from here.